taking purposeful football all the time. Now we're going to have backs against the wall and we're going to fight, and we're going to fight hard. You've got to show me all the guts and all the determination you've got in your body. You've got to inspire me.
A marvellous kick. That's as good as you'll ever see. And puts Graham back in front.
I don't know about you guys, but if I see one bloke walking out of here, getting a pat on the back from people out there for a good effort, I'll spew up.
From inside the centre square. Boyd kicked the goal. Boyd kicked the goal. From inside the centre. I can't believe that.
Hey folks, welcome to Danny Boyd, the greatest podcast about the greatest football club with the greatest guests and the greatest co-host. I'm Danny McGinley. Tom Boyd's with you. Happy birthday, Tom.
Thank you, 27, going on 50. Had a 4-month-old up probably 5 times last night.
Hey, now this is what I want to hear, because I've seen photos of your gorgeous daughter and I get clucky, but you know, that ship sailed, had the vasectomy. I need to know how many times you were up and the horror.
She, yeah, it wasn't a horror thing, more just interrupted. She's just very squawky at the moment. But I think we also, as a good segue into the start of the conversation today, my sister has betrayed this podcast.
She has, yes.
Yep.
We need to talk about this.
Let's
bring in our guest, ABC journalist, all-round writer. What else do you do?
What do you mean?
I don't know. Kate O'Halloran, welcome to Danny Boyd.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Media mogul.
Fighter of Twitter trolls.
Yes, lifelong.
Oh, you're in the Twitter fighting game. Congratulations.
yeah.
Man, she's the General Patton.
So when you see like Shauno 74777777 saying bad stuff, you go, I'm going to get this.
No,
guy.
it's actually the opposite. Kate just needs to tweet anything like, your potato cakes are nice. How dare you? You fat mole. What would you know?
Women shouldn't be on Twitter.
Women shouldn't eat potatoes.
Humans with emotions probably shouldn't be on Twitter either. I don't think.
Twitter's shocking. So,
How many of them have Aussie flags in their bios as well? Have you noticed that?
Or a car.
Yeah.
Or just when they've had so many accounts, they don't even bother to put a profile pic because they know they're going to be cancelled. It's just an egg.
That's why I said so many numbers, because the amount of them they put on there, it's like, so do you remember this strange like slew of numbers you put in your profile?
Yeah, and it's weird. Even the ones who like they've got maybe a dinosaur and they're called like, you know, Velveteen Thinker or something.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you're going,
true.
And then they're going, you know, have some decorum. And you're going, hang on, why? You're a rabbit.
Am I arguing with you or your split personality?
Yeah, what are we doing here? My mate Dave Thornton has one of the greatest bits of stand-up about this. He goes, the problem is everyone's equal on Twitter. Like, you just put up a thing and you've got the same credence. You should get a font based on how intelligent you are. And he's got a great bit of, you know, if you read some Times New Roman, you go, wow, Dr. Stephen Hawking's commented on my post. But the rest just get wingdicks. Yeah, shout out to Thorno. Anyway, so yes, I saw your sister, Tessa Boyd, friend of the show, outside the MCG on Sunday wearing a Carlton Blues scarf.
What the hell?
Yeah.
She played for the Bulldogs.
She should be like me, really.
Yes.
She should have been converted.
Absolutely.
Not the case. Anyway,
I pulled her up on it, and do you know what her justification was? I've got a Bulldog scarf at home.
Oh, nowhere to be seen.
Oh, God.
I have a Hawthorn scarf at home because I use it for my dumb sketches. It doesn't mean I have any respect for that horrible cesspit of a football club.
I appreciate that.
Without going into too much detail, Tessa had a bit of a tough weekend. She's got some neighbour issues. Was she supposed to be on Neighbours and it got axed? Yeah, actually. That was her whole life plan. So I obviously, as a supportive brother, spoke to her quite a lot over the weekend and didn't miss when I called her on Sunday night to tell her how bad the Blues were either.
Is that the worst loss that you can think of? That's not losing a final. Probably the worst home and away loss. Because it was an elimination final for them. To be up against your arch rivals and to kick 6 points and then to lose by a point and to be surrounded by happy Collingwood fans. Wow. Can you imagine anything? I'm putting that out to the listeners. If you can think of a worse, I'm not talking an imaginary worse because we can all imagine it worse than that. But I can't think
Is
of
that the worst loss?
Yeah, of
Home and
all
away
time.
loss, obviously.
It's got to be, yeah. All right, let us know on the socials.
Well, I just know I was ecstatic. So ecstatic.
Wasn't it weird going for Collingwood?
Oh, I felt dirty.
Yeah. It was like the other thing about when you finish the last round of the year, right? If you're playing finals, not so obviously the stakes are raised because if Carlton had won, we wouldn't have made it. But when you actually have finished, like I have experience playing basically on the Saturday, and then potentially the outcome of the game dictates who you play the next week. It's very weird finishing a game of footy and being like, I need to watch this game,
Yeah.
and to see the Dogs guys in Tassie cheering. Like, as to your point, Collingwood won, which must make them feel a bit interesting. But it was a wild finish to the year.
Oh, man, it was. I mean, the AFL and Channel 7 must be so stoked with how it all ended.
Oh, that's what I said. I said, this is a marketing delight.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to make a huge splash. Got two of the most, historied clubs going against each other, arch rivals, to basically, Carlton sort of fell off a cliff after about round 10, but
fine.
Yeah, to end the season, I must have been so happy.
Whoever's the sponsor behind Jamie Elliott as he kicks a goal must be so stoked because that goal's going to be replayed forever.
I can't believe he didn't handball it.
I thought that at the time.
Who was open? Was it?
Ginnivan? Ginnivan standing would have run into an open goal.
God, Ginnivan would have celebrated better. Yeah, he should have hand passed.
No, it's and also he's had so much negative attention
Exactly.
for that to be rubbed in the Blues
Yes.
face. It's like this guy who's been the heel of the competition for the last 6 weeks.
Very unjustifiedly. I actually love watching him. I love him. He rolls up a little bit, but
He's
as
a small
anyone
forward.
should. That's what they do.
And the Tom Papleys of the world.
Yes.
Think
I
about
love him.
Stephen Milne, all these guys who are small forwards. They have to be
Stephen Milne's no good.
No, we don't talk about him.
It all depends on which club you play for, whether I like you. Well, it's weird that I like Ginnivan, admittedly, because Magpies haven't beaten the Bulldogs yet with Ginnivan in the side, but I'm sure I'll hate him soon enough. But Papley, I don't mind the Swans, so that's fine. But if Papley played for the Demons, what a prick. Worst human ever.
Yeah. Can you imagine him in a Demons jumper too?
I totally can. It's very easy. But so what is with the AFLW players not going for the Bulldogs anymore? Hayley Wilds, premiership player, was at one of my gigs recently. She said she goes for Collingwood. Nikki Callanan, who we've had her on the show.
Nikki on, yeah.
She works for the Saints, but her family go for Collingwood in the men's. Kate? You're an expert on AFLW. What's with these ladies?
Well, it's bloody rude is what it is.
Correct.
I don't know. That disturbs me really because it sort of, comes off the back of all these players leaving as well. If we look at I know that we don't want to go straight into the negatives, but I mean, I was at Captain's Day the other day looking around Marvel and we've got Katie Brennan captaining Richmond. We've got Emma Carney captaining North. We've got Meg McDonald, Geelong, Bonnie Toogood, Essendon. We basically supplied the whole competition with captains.
We're a feeder club.
Yeah. Well, I actually think it is an interesting conversation, right? It's at what stage does the AFLW get to the solidified, no additional teams? What's the end date where it goes, okay, this is day one of the full competition? And then how do you build the actual sort of loyalty or history to the club? Because that exists more in the men's league than it does. It's much harder to move for starters.
Yeah.
Do you know what I reckon the AFL's going to do? I can just see this happening. They're going to just add more clubs to keep stealing. So Ellie Blackburn's going to play for the Darwin
Tassie.
Crocodiles.
Well, I think Ellie is managed by the same manager that I have. So I'll be continually pestering him to make sure she stays.
Well, she got a big offer from
She
Sydney
almost left.
in the off-season.
Yep.
And apparently the rumour I've heard, so, no better place to give an unsubstantiated rumour than on a podcast. But I believe Bonnie Toogood was given a car by one of the Essendon sponsors, which is legal, not part of the salary cap or anything.
Yeah.
But that's why she left us.
That has a real Bulldogs feel about it.
Yeah.
Richer club swans in and offers, out of the salary cap bonuses.
Yeah.
Well, the Bulldogs also have, got a history of poaching high draft picks 1 year after they joined the competition.
For $1 million bucks.
What car did we give you? You were given a broken down Datsun 180Y.
Well, I'm a loyal
We
member.
rented.
I'm a loyal member of the airport Toyota, not given cars, purchased cars. But yeah, I just buy from Mitch's old man's.
Oh, of course. So Steve Wallace.
I was sponsored. Yeah, no, I'm not sponsored by them. I've always bought from Steve.
So yeah, we got to get him on, Steve.
We do, yeah.
Do I have to buy a car to get him on?
Yes.
Okay.
And you'll have to wait 2 years for it to arrive.
Please subscribe to our Patreon so I can buy a car and we can get Steve Wallace on.
Yeah, I actually on the loyalty front, I think what is the amount of time you need to spend at a football club before you have to barrack for them?
Oh, great question. Yeah, there's a formula probably.
Yeah,
for
I feel
this.
like we can solve this in the next 5 minutes. Because say for Tessa, she didn't play a game.
Yeah, so-
one season. It's like, you dipped your toe in the water.
Which would be fine, but her brother is a Bulldogs hero.
Champion. Yeah.
Yeah, she loves being told that.
Well, Boydie, I assume you go for the Nunawading Inspectors because your sister is a Nunawading Inspectors legend.
Yeah, I mean, I played there as well, but...
Oh, right. Well, yeah, but did you really? You are absolutely the Tessa Boyd of Nunawading Inspectors.
No, I played there for 6 years. So.
Seniors?
Little different.
No, I got
Yeah,
drafted
see?
to play footy.
Look at him, just stepping on his sister's toes.
Yeah. So what do you think? Because there's a lot of change in the AFLW in terms of clubs, and as you mentioned, we seem to supply the best talent to the entire league. What's the actual the exclusionary characteristic that means that you've been at the club X amount of years or X amount of games?
Yeah, it's almost like father-son. Like you have to play 100 games to qualify for that. Or one for AFLW. But, 200 games is life membership. 10 games is you have to go for this club.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I know we're here to talk about AFLW, but I heard Adam Treloar the other day saying, when I retire, who would I barrack for? And
But he's still contracted to the club, so he's got
but then he said, probably the Bulldogs. And I'm like, what do you mean probably?
Yeah.
It's got to be us.
I think I remember Leon Cameron said, he was asked when he retired from Richmond, who would you go for? And he said the Bulldogs.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't think that's the case now until he comes back
He did
as
spend
assistant.
17 years at the club.
And 5 years at
that's
Richmond,
true.
though.
Yeah.
So...
What do you
Then he
think?
came back as an
Then he came
assistant.
back as
What do you
assistant.
think, Tom? Because you're kind of the better one to answer this.
If you win a premiership, you have to go for that club.
Yeah. Whether you like it or not.
I can't go around parading the blue scarf. I'll get assassinated.
Probably would.
It'll just be an obituary in the Carlton supporter, Tom Boyd.
Well, I think that it would also be Tom, you've got a great relationship with your psychologist. I think if you going back to supporting Carlton, she would just be like, no, this is really toxic behaviour.
Yeah, possibly.
You can't do it. Which you could see on my new TikTok this week, by the way. It's I put it up this morning and it's barely got anything, so I'm putting a thing up. I'm giving a shout out on the pod. Hey, look at my TikTok because it's funny. At Danny McGinlay.
Yeah. Go look at Danny's TikTok. He's very fond of it. He's
So what do we got? So 10 games, you reckon, or 5?
I think it's probably more season based, to be honest. It's probably more of a time thing because, some players. I mean, I can't remember exactly what the exact number was, but I think Nathan Vardy played 17 games in 7 seasons at Geelong.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to West Coast. You'd imagine he probably barracks for Geelong, if I had to guess.
You can go for 2 teams if you played for both of them.
But there's difference. I'm not a huge barracker.
No.
As you know. But if I was to say which club would I support if Carlton and Western Bulldogs were playing each other, it'd be the Bulldogs, obviously.
Better be.
So,
Guys, this podcast is an absolute sham.
I didn't know that was a question.
I've just got a closet full of Carlton stuff at home. But that's that. I think you can follow both, but it's which is when it comes to the crunch and the 2 teams are playing each other, who are you going to barrack for? That's the difference, I think.
Well, could you bring yourself to cheer against Mitch Wallace?
Oh yeah, do it every day. I'm eternally on Emily's side. He's his
of
wife,
course.
So, no, I couldn't barrack against Mitch.
So if the Dogs weren't playing, you'd barrack for Carlton?
Don't really care about Carlton either, to be honest.
What about Carlton v GWS? You played for GWS. Oh, yeah. Would you go for GWS at all?
No.
Ever?
Never.
That's good to know.
That's actually an interesting one because, because I moved, then they became our rival.
Yeah.
It's like I almost have like less love for them because I played for them.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to say, but anyway.
Well, maybe that's how Tessa feels.
We did finish bottom that year.
Oh, GWS. You said we. I suppose you were part of it.
Yeah,
I'm just trying.
I know.
I'm reading into things way too much.
No.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe we actually get into the AFLW instead of just talking about.
Let's do a very quick preview of. So we're playing Freo over there. Freo towed us up at Docklands a couple of weeks back. This feels exactly how I felt going into playing West Coast in 2016. Like going, we got no hope here.
Yeah, I think back to, can't remember exactly what season it was, but where Richmond won like 10 in a row to make the finals.
Yeah, I think this is 2014.
Something like that.
And then they get thumped by Port Adelaide.
We didn't have that same build up to our grand final is round 23. We played a pretty underwhelming Hawks team, got over the line, and really the sort of grand final of the end of the home and away season was actually the Carlton-Collingwood game as opposed to being us. So I don't think we're going to have that sort of emotional crash that Richmond would have had.
Yes. And
So-
Richmond played the next week. They didn't have the break.
That's
back
right,
then.
yeah, and that makes a difference too, I'd say. But look, I think we deserve to go in as pretty heavy underdogs, which is fine. We like that. And then the travel and, the Freo supporters are going to show out, you'd imagine. So.
Yeah, and they can be a lot more obnoxious than you realise.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone just assumes West Coast are the worst, but Freo worse than
Freo
Eagles?
are pretty bad, yeah.
Really?
Who's worse?
Well, in my experience, both are pretty average. Tell you what, the Adelaideans aren't much good either.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no, this isn't the question, though. Who's worse?
Who's worse? Well, I don't know. I tell you what, here's so probably Freo at Subi is like my most visceral memory of like bad supporters, like round 23 or whatever it was.
Pavlich's
last game. That was, but the other thing is the dugouts were like in the stands then. I was basically sitting with their supporters. But then now,
Boydie, come and have a spell. Sit with the cheer squad.
oh my God, it was horrible. Come off the ground, and I'm like, no.
Leave me out there.
And I just remember it so viscerally because I injured my ankle in the first quarter, and then I went in, got it jabbed a few times, and came back out, and I was doing run-throughs. Oh, never fun. Next to right next to the stand, I'm talking to the physio, and they're just abusing me. But now, I mean, at Optus, you can pretty much hide underneath because you sort of walk down into the dugout there at the brand new stadium. So
you've got your own private. Every player's got their own private room. You just go out into the Eastern Conservatory.
Yeah, the thing that I have said I think before is that the heckling at Marvel is really bad because the sound drops really quickly, so you can hear the individual comments.
Wow.
At the G, there's more, and I would say at Optus,
And you can hear the individual comments. I'd like to formally apologise to Ryan Griffin.
you probably have to apologise to more than just him.
Yeah, I know, but he's the one I feel bad about.
Yeah. Whereas at the G, and also I presume at a full Optus, you sort of get this reverberation of sound. So it's
just a
hard
wall
to make
of noise.
Yeah, the worst place to get heckled is in Tassie. Launceston's shocking because you can hear everything.
Wow.
It's, outdoor, everyone's close.
Yeah.
Small crowds. I mean,
what about Ballarat?
Yeah, Ballarat's. I was about to say that next as well. Yeah, it can be pretty bad. So,
what about at Metricon? Because there's one bloke there.
Yeah. Well, it depends at which end.
Shut
of the
up, Steve.
Depends at which end of the ground he's at.
All right, so let's lock that in. Bulldogs are definitely going to win by how many points did we win that elimination final?
Well, what I will say is, having experienced a final such as this over in Perth, the message that day was silence is golden. So
that's right.
If you can't hear anything, that's very good for us.
I was just thinking, where did I read that? Just read it in your book.
Yeah. Oh, really? That's the bit you're up to.
Nowhere to hide. No, I'm a bit further past that. I'm putting it down all the time to make it last longer.
Yes. Okay, good. Yeah, it's a pretty easy read.
It's great.
Yeah.
No, I'm loving it. I've texted you, remember?
Yeah.
just folks, if you've not read it, you're just reading about the hardship and the mental health and the stuff that was going through your head during 15, 16. Just wanted to give you a hug and go, dude, we loved you. We did not. You were imagining how all this pressure and hatred. You were in the VFL. Great.
Yeah.
We wanted you to develop there.
Yeah.
Kate, back me up.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
No, we were talking about it, and I've actually thought about this a lot because, there are some pretty horrendous Bulldog fan forums out there, like Western Bulldogs Forum. on Facebook.
On Facebook.
Yeah.
I do promote that in here, but I promote that. Sorry, I promote this podcast in there.
Danny did get some pretty heavy feedback when he promoted the podcast in there.
Did he?
This is not a club sanctioned.
Oh no,
podcast.
that's when I sold our t-shirts. By the way, we have t-shirts. Link in bio.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to my point. That's kind of the place where fans go to vent, and there's always players who seem to cop it more than others. And I didn't feel like you, from a fan perspective, were one of the ones who copped it the most. Like, I do think there was a fair bit of understanding, but I wonder as a player, because people are so loud when they're vicious online, which I know well.
Yeah.
If that's what stays with you, if that overrides the more general broad support that you would have felt, I hope.
I would say, I mean, the Bulldogs fraternity were pretty good to me across the board, particularly after 16. But the overwhelming amount of people in Melbourne in particular aren't just Bulldog supporters.
Yeah.
So, I think that my story captured a lot of people's negative attention at that time, whether it was, just they wanted to lash out at an opposition club and all of the publicity around the deal size and all that sort of stuff. It's just part of the gig.
Do you know if the Whipping Boys at the moment? There's we have a lot of these young shorter midfielders, and people are they're just going, "You're a dud, McNeil. You're an absolute dud." And you have to go, "That's Anthony Scott, mate."
Yeah. I was about to say, there's about 7 of them. They're all the same size.
Garcia,
and they're all like
Scott,
27,
McNeil.
28, 29, 30 in the numbers. So we'll just get lost.
Yeah. I've noticed that too.
Yep. So, information, love the Bulldogs fans, don't worry.
Absolutely. You're all great. The ones who listen to this podcast, you're good. And if you have a friend who doesn't listen to this podcast who's a bit dodgy, get them to listen to this podcast, they'll become good.
It's just like all social media though, isn't it? Like, as a journalist, I never hear when someone likes a story that I write.
Yeah.
No one bothers to comment and go, "Great read, Kate, really enjoyed that." It's all the trolling that you hear.
That's right. Yeah. I used to get that on game day. It was no one would go, "That's really funny."
Yeah, I really like that.
If you laugh at a sketch, you don't go, I better send a message.
Yeah.
You just go, "Great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm going to make some toast."
Silence is golden. I think for me, when it stepped over the line into really affecting me was once it became like in person.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, people hate me enough to say it to my face. And I'm like, I know that you're only doing it because you know that I can't do anything about it, because I'll end up being in the paper for brawling about,
awful.
Someone who called me a loser or whatever.
The wherewithal to say it to a 200 centimetre bloke.
Wow, that's the thing, because I was in the public eye. Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
You had nowhere to
Can't
hide.
deck someone.
Out
Literally,
now,
that's
Alan
what-
Unwin. Is that it?
Yeah,
Penguin?
Good ad read.
Yeah, there we go. All right. AFLW.
All right,
This is what we want to talk about. I'm very excited about it. I'm telling you what, halfway through the third quarter of Collingwood Carlton, I was going, thank God we've got Kate on this week, because I do not want to talk about men's football at all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it worked out well.
I have a question. So, was the draft the same time this year as it's always been with the adjusted? So it was brought forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long?
I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but it was all a bit of a mess because a lot of the players were still doing year 12 as well. So it was, because obviously season's normally Jan, Feb, March, and we brought it forward.
For purely selfish reasons, I'm really annoyed they've moved it.
Really?
There was nothing better than a February Sunday afternoon going out.
Craft beers
35 degree, having a few tinnies on the wing.
I know.
It was so good. And now, it'll still be good, but it's going to be a bit colder. And
Yeah.
and I'm not a huge cricket fan, so this was my summer sport. I like it, but
it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Like, it really will. And obviously they won't be playing at Whitten this year.
no, we're at Optus Oval, and for Bulldogs fans of my generation, that's actually a happy hunting ground.
Optus Oval, that's a flashback.
97,
Blast from the
98,
past.
99, we were the Terry Wallace good years.
We used to sit in the stand there.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Members' seats.
Yeah, I knew it as Vizzy.
Vizzy?
Oh, well, you're that young.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did all our Vic Metro state stuff out there. That's
Of
like
course.
the hub of
That's where you
state.
trained.
Yep, twice a week or 3 times a week some weeks.
I'm noticing that we've still got Ellie Blackburn as our captain. We've still got Kirsty Lamb, who found another gear last year. Like, she was a great player, and now she's an elite
Kirsty
player.
Lamb.
Yeah.
She is my favourite. She is just a beast.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot believe her contested ball work and how good it is. She just took it to another level last year.
How are we going to go this year, Kate? Where are we sitting? Give me your crystal ball.
Hang on, let's build up to this. Let's talk about the players we've still got, I reckon. Still.
I want to know where the team's going.
I know, you just
wants to know what's going to happen.
I want her to predict the future.
Well, we will.
Have you looked at my tipping results?
I'm 9 out of 9 the last 2 weeks, by the way.
This year's the year.
Hey, I was top 1% Supercoach this year.
Hey,
And
nice.
See, she knows players.
She knows players. All right, well.
But there's no bloody AFLW Supercoach. Can I get that on the record? Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, that's rubbish. Why haven't they done that? Is there Dream Team?
No, there's no fantasy and no Supercoach.
Can't be that hard.
That's terrible.
And
They've got the whole platform there. Just
they've got it there.
Put some names in there.
They've got all the infrastructure around it.
And they're terrible, greedy corporate people, so why not just try and make more money?
Yeah. Exactly.
I think it would be sad, though, if the winner of AFLW Supercoach got more than an AFLW player.
Actually, I want to double down on this. That actually is a very good idea. I mean, I think, I reckon that would attract a lot of just the Supercoach nuts from the men's side to actually start paying more attention to the W. That makes heaps of sense to me.
Yeah, because there's an independent one, AFLW Fantasy, Moyera's Magic, I think. He's in charge of that, or set it up last year. He's a Supercoach and fantasy gun. And yeah, I had a mate, old schoolmate, her partner. He's, totally obsessed with Supercoach, but hasn't watched as much AFLW and totally got into it last season because he was on the hunt and the prowl for bargains, and
let's do it.
It gets the other fans in, I think.
Yep. So it will also bring in the you've ruined my Supercoach this week conversation.
Yeah, that's a good one for players, I hear.
It's almost as good as you ruined my multi.
Yeah. I was about to say.
Yeah, that's next.
It's usually both.
Yeah. No, I think it makes heaps of sense to me. And strategically, I mean, imagine it would drag across a lot of the Supercoach nuts, which I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but there's a lot of them.
There's quite a few 280,000 teams for men's.
Wow.
My favourite Supercoach sentence, one of my mates said to me this about 10 years ago, because I dabbled in it and I was terrible because, I'd just go, oh, yeah, I guess that, and then I wouldn't think about it. And then he's gone, mate, I'll tell you what you're doing wrong. Unless you spend 3 hours a week on it, you're wasting your time. And I went, let's analyse that sentence.
You got a mansplain.
Unless you're spending 3 hours a week on it,
you're
wasting your time. I know there's people like that.
Podcasts, they help.
Yes, I have heard that. Anyway,
that's not what we're talking about.
I want to talk about Gabby Newton because she didn't play last year. Boydie, she had the Tom Boyd injury of she had to get a double shoulder reconstruction.
Right.
That's a double, yeah.
I mean, like most people who do shoulders, a lot of the time are hypermobile. So I need to get I probably need to get both done, to be honest. Again,
so you can keep picking up the baby.
Yeah, pretty much.
And all that. Yeah. But Gabby Newton, she's pretty much front and center of all our social media because she looks like, now Boydie, this is your people's religion. She looks like a Valkyrie. She looks like the angels that would come and take Norse warriors to Valhalla and would and if they weren't worthy would rip their heads off and eat their souls.
I'm sure, is that a compliment?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Look, I've spent a week trying to work out what's the least creepy way I can say she's gorgeous.
Okay, all right.
And that's the best I could come up with.
All right, I'll just ignore that. Look, she's. I think she's going to go forward this season, which will be interesting. I mean, we need a forward because we lost Bonnie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's not talk about that. I did tell her she was a traitor last week.
Oh, did you? What did she say?
I said, my sister loves you and she has a badge of you and she thinks she has a badge curse because she had yours as well. You're her favourite player, by the way, Bridie. She said I had to mention her.
Oh, okay. By the way, she pointed at Boydie, not me. She doesn't have a me badge.
At least I didn't move to another club.
No, exactly.
And become captain, presumably.
Yes, exactly. So every player, men's and women's, she buys a badge of, leave, retire. And Bonnie was one of them. And Bonnie was like, I'm so sorry. She was like really nice about it. And I actually started to feel bad. So at the end of the interview, I was like, Well, no, look, I'm really genuinely happy for you. I know you grew up barracking for the Bombers, and if it was me and the Doggies, I would have done the same.
And we couldn't afford her, presumably.
Well, presumably.
We couldn't afford
We
the
couldn't
car.
afford the car, specifically.
Sure, we're going to find one lying around somewhere.
We hired one for the day, but she wasn't happy with that.
But yes, Bonnie looked at me and she was like, "Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that." Like, tap me on the shoulder. So
It must be hard. Like when you come into the AFL and the men's side, there's a commercial. You have to think about how you're going to actually make the most of your career. For the girls, I feel like they kind of all joined almost as a passion just to play the game, and now the commercial's coming into it, and it's all over the map because you've got clubs can poach these marquee talents. It must be so hard to manage. Like personality-wise, I can't imagine they came in going, "Yeah, we put on our negotiating boots today."
No. They're not earning that kind of money, and for a lot of them, it is about their work. It's whatever they're balancing.
Yes, because
with
we lost
footy.
Huntington. Izzy Huntington.
Yes.
She's gone to the Giants.
Oh God!
But the reasoning was she
wants to study.
She wants to study up there. Now that's got to be a double whammy to the Bulldogs, considering our main sponsor is a university.
Yeah.
And I think she's doing something like sports physio related.
So something you could do there.
The VU's biggest selling point. It's
Oh no! So what's happened there? Why did you? I mean, that's one that you sort of get a bit miffed about because she's had 2 knee recos, and that's a very unfair thing fans say of like, "Oh, mate, we've rehabilitated you, and now you walk out on us." What are you doing?
You know where I sit on that camp. Go and earn your money. Go and
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, I also I like loyalty in football clubs, and I think that to the point I made earlier about AFLW, they have to get to a point where eventually there's stability, which creates history and then loyalty to that history. Right? It's essentially the I would say roadmap. But at the same time, especially if you're a high draft pick or a marquee player, you only have a loyalty to a certain point. Like if you're getting offered 3 times as much elsewhere, and this is a really big moment in your life. You can't really knock them for going to do that, which I think is basically what's happening at the moment. Like from what I understand from the sort of commercials that I've heard about, these are they're not getting paid that much, but these are 6-figure offers that are getting thrown around for them to be able to basically balance that with their other work. It's pretty hard to turn down.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think from a fan perspective, that's actually something I've really noticed about AFLW is that perhaps people aren't as loyal, like not in terms of, I don't barrack for the Bulldogs or whatever, but people do have players they love at other clubs. They seem to be less.
What do you think caused that?
I think it's partly just like the community around AFLW. I think a lot of people who are really invested in it are just invested in women's sport and really happy to see a national league and, want it to succeed, want the players to get professional. Like I just think it's more of we're really happy that this is happening. It's a bit.
In my favourite non-Bulldogs player is Cora Staunton because I met her once and she's the most intimidating Irish woman, and I was like, I want you to be my mum.
How old is she? She probably.
No, I think I'm still older than her.
But you mentioned that about the community feel around the AFLW.
Yes.
It's the best place to have the kids.
Yes.
It's just maybe that's a part of it for the
There's
time.
no dickheads at the game except for me, really.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm the loudest bloke there.
That is, I would say that, like, you go and you feel very safe, like, especially as a woman, sometimes going the footy, like, can be pretty violent and feral. And,
Especially if Collingwood are playing.
Exactly. Or Essendon. Or
Well, I wonder if bringing in the final few clubs will
Change
that bring in a few ferals? I'm not sure.
Well, that's actually not a bad question, right? Because is this sort of like distribution of support amongst the clubs based on the fact that a lot of these people haven't had teams to barrack for? Like they haven't had representation as an AFLW side until like this year or last year or whenever they brought the most recent intake. And once we actually get to the full scope of the 18 clubs,
which is this
week.
season.
Season.
Yeah.
And then the teams, again, for stability and time, it will still take to get them to the place where I think there's going to be more loyalty. But does that create the sort of more visceral, angry fan, drag everyone in, and now they have something to support through the sort of September, October months?
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Well,
Sometimes, like as much as I love the AFLW, at times it's been too nice. It's like, no,
Yeah.
come on, yell at the umpire. Come on, get involved.
Don't
You're
yell-
allowed.
don't yell at the umpire,
You're
kids.
no, well, don't. You can. You're
Contest
allowed
the
to
decisions.
voice dismay. Yes. Oh, I tell you what. One of the biggest laughs I ever got at an AFLW game was one of the worst decisions of all time went against us, and I was so about to just give a mouthful of abuse, and I just went, read the room, and went, I disagree.
See, even the yelling was out there for
Yeah.
an AFLW game. Like,
Well, I mean, that's an unfortunate part of supporting clubs, but the sort of contested nature and maybe that more like abuse side of thing, it does drive attention and then, interest and all that sort of stuff as well.
yeah. I hope it does become a bit more parochial. Like, I'd love to see people really rip into did some rivalries to form, proper
when
rivalries.
can we just go nuts on Katie Brennan?
Yeah.
You can't be a premiership captain, and she's not. Ellie Blackburn is, but and walk out on the club.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I think she is actually.
No, Ellie played.
Well, let's just say from this year on, we judge the walking out much more seriously.
Yeah, now that we've got the 18 teams, I do feel for the players who were there right from the beginning. I mean, we only had 6 teams, and exhibition games were like Doggies, Melbourne. So almost everyone has played for the Doggies at some point, or Melbourne.
Yeah. So inherently, there's going to be some competitiveness. There.
Yeah, but also it's necessitated a lot of movement, just the fact that it's expanded so rapidly. So, and maybe it didn't get the same understanding that we had with the men's, like in terms of the compensation for the teams that were losing players as well, because it was a bit of a just free for all in AFLW, like particularly the Doggies. I mean, really, we got.
Yeah, I mean, I would. It's almost unavoidable.
Yeah.
Right? Like these teething issues that have happened up until this point were always going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I think basically what I'm saying is from this day onwards, don't leave the Dogs.
Don't leave the Dogs. Anyone who leaves the Dogs now,
It's there's no holds barred.
Yeah.
open season.
We'll give Bonnie a free pass. Brooke
Yeah,
Lachlan
but Bonnie was the last one. They walked out the door, and now we've sealed. It's like Indiana Jones. The gate is shut. You're now public enemy number one.
Yeah.
But Bonnie, by the way, still, I'm so angry at you, but I forgive you.
She just seemed like such a nice person, and spoke so well.
And the best name in world sport.
I know.
Because Bonnie means good, so her name was Good. Too good. She's James Bond.
There's a guy who plays baseball overseas. His name's Edwin, and he's a closer in baseball. So when he's going poorly and he's getting hit out of the park, they call him Ed Lose.
Well, I thought about this with Limo when we had a radio show for ages. I always said Bonnie Toogood's the best name, but apparently there is a Russian hurdler called Maria Stepanova.
Oh, that's good.
There is not.
It's apparently.
Sounds made up.
Hey, how's Izzy? All of our Izzies are amazing. We're Izzy
Yes.
Pritchett, friend of the show.
Yes.
Izzy Grant.
Izzy Grant, how's she going?
Brilliant. She had an excellent season
I
last.
know, but it has her off season.
Well,
because
What's on
We're
the rumour
I've seen
mill?
one practice game. I thought she had a real breakout season last year as a defender. And I think she won I was looking this up this morning, 2022 Club Trainers Award, which, from an external point of view, did really look like she was putting in the work.
Those awards are generally based on
Popularity.
on best and fairest voting, generally speaking.
there
Like
you go.
I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah.
So in the men's at least, it's like you'll get we have Domestique of the Year and we have Coaches
So
Award.
explain what the domestique is, because I love this and I know it, but if anyone doesn't know the domestique.
Yeah.
So the Domestique, if you ever go to an open training session on a Tuesday, it's when they're running around in the polka dot jersey. And essentially what a Domestique is, they've got like an actual rider's jersey that they put underneath their thing.
So this is it's
a team voted award.
but it's based off the cycling
I'll explain
thing, Tour de
it.
France.
He's getting there.
Sorry, okay, all right.
So in riding, you, especially in the big races like Tour de France, you have teams of riders, and there's usually a lead rider, and then there's basically 3 supports. But one of them in particular is the Domestique. So the role of the Domestique is essentially to ride into the headwinds, to give up your extra gel pack if you need to, or if the rider behind you. Your job is literally just to get the rider to the point where the race actually starts, which is in the last I don't know, depending on the stage. And for us, it was really about who are the people that are going out and doing the grunt work, the gritty work. They're supporting their teammates, picking them off the deck. The tackling, the harassing, the pressure, all the stuff that's hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much talent, but it's a massive part of how to win. So every week the players vote on that, and it's usually It changed a little bit in my time. Originally, it was very much focused on the players who did jobs for us in terms of tagging or defensive roles.
Yeah.
And then to sort of move to like the intercept defenders who really played that pivotal sort of defense attack balance for us over the years. And then it kind of moved to like just the best player for a while, but I don't know what it's like right now. But it's a really, really good award that sort of tries to bring out the best characteristics in players.
Can I ask this?
Yes.
Who won the domestique for the 4 men's finals of 2016?
I won for the grand final.
And
Hey.
you won 2.
Did I win the prelim?
Yeah, you won the
Oh.
prelim. I think Picken won 1.
Picken
and
definitely won 1.
I think Easton Wood won another.
Maybe.
But all I know is you won 2, and I wanted
awesome.
everyone to know that because you're too humble to say it. But
I didn't remember that I won it for the prelim. Makes sense now when I think about it. after we did the rewatch the other day, and I was like, oh my God, I was so tired.
That was awesome. I went to that game. I drove up to Sydney as one of the many doggies and booed GWS out onto their
That
ground.
was so wild. Did you, at that game, do you remember how hot it was before the first siren went?
Yes. It was humid. I was just sweating.
Hot. I was like, I'm not getting a kick today.
we've now done Danny Boyd bingo. We've managed to turn this AFLW preview into the 2016 preview.
Well, one of those photos I sent you was after the game. That was just like, I will never forget that.
Yeah, all roads lead to the same place. Just reliving the glory days. Two old hacks.
Anyway,
I must say it's getting me excited. Your clear passion for the AFLW and even your understanding of like the Supercoach stuff. What do you in 5 years' time? If you're sitting there as a fan of the AFLW, and you're popping your Bollinger champagne because everything's gone perfectly. Not a perfect analogy, but anyway.
No, that's all right.
What do you think are the sort of key things that you'd like to see happen in the next 5 years? Because I feel like we've done the building and now we're at almost like we've gotten to the start of the race. Now's the race starts. What's the next 5 years look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like we had... Okay, no, rewind. The first thing I want to mention is the CBA because we've got a new collective
Commonwealth Bank of Australia. Yes. Good.
Sponsor of the
show.
Well, you've always been a subcontractor, obviously, because you haven't had to deal with the collective bargaining agreement just there. They're so painful listening to people lecture you about what you need, and you're like, okay, mate. Just go get more money or more time off and then leave me alone. Because it's so dumb.
I'll vote for Boydie as union leader if that's it.
Yeah.
I'll get you more money or more time off. What do you want?
But yeah, like with AFLW, obviously the players have been putting in so many hours over the last few seasons. People taking unpaid time off work, missing out on promotions. They were getting 6-month contracts and then having to stay fit for the next 6 months, on their own effectively and rehabbing their own injuries. It's been a really tough road. So to see them finally move towards 12-month contracts, getting paid a lot better, although, it's still only the 2 players at each club who really get the high wages, which is 75 grand-ish. I'd have to double check exactly. But, yes, you get sponsorships on top of it and stuff like that. And
sponsorship money, as a very big positive, is flooding into the AFLW market.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but my manager's perspective is it's massively in fashion at the moment, which is great.
Good.
So, and like I've said this multiple times on this podcast, but VFL players and AFLW players have the hardest jobs in the world.
Definitely.
To balance basically the expectation at the VFL level is you need to be as fit as the AFL players, but you've also got to work full time. So, and same for the AFLW.
Yeah.
To your point around this sort of 6 months of just looking after yourself. It's crazy.
It's
so hard.
Brutally tough.
Who were the heroes of the, what are we going to call it, the hardballing in terms of the negotiation that happened recently? Because there was quite a big jump in terms of what the CBA was going to look like from what I understand to what it actually ended up doing. Who were the sort of heroes in your mind from that little piece?
Well, I think...
piece, sorry, I should say.
Yeah. I think a lot of the players, names like Darcy Versio and Pepper Randall and all the ones who were effectively their side's union representatives. And I think they also had really good advice from women outside of sport as well, like lawyers, human rights people, just people coming at it from a gender equity perspective, trying to get them to really understand what they're worth and, that they can ask to be paid for all the hours that they're doing and, that we don't need to be grateful anymore just to be there, I think it's been a shift in the mindset from that perspective. I think the AFLPA also got on board in a bigger way this season supporting AFLW players because I think that's been a bit of a bugbear in the past and not having much representation on the board and so on. So, but yeah, I think they really came to the party this time around. And I know they've only negotiated the 1 year because I think the hope is possibly to negotiate with the men's players, which I would really like to see. Like, I think that's something I would also like to see, even if we're just talking about from a club perspective. I want the men to be like posting about it on their Instagram and Twitters and, just really getting behind the team and that one club kind of mentality. I think that really makes a difference to your everyday supporter, just seeing that.
Yep, I agree.
And that they're willing to push them along and get them to a place where they can be fully professional, because I think that's when things are really going to shift.
Yeah. And how far do you think we are away from that? Because I feel like this is the hardest conversation to have, right? Which is essentially what we're saying is, at what point can every single player in the competition quit their jobs?
Yeah, yeah.
Which is not going to happen tomorrow.
No.
And it also is a very scary first step to take, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely,
like you can't do it without the sort of financial, support and structure there in place first.
Yeah. Which is why I think, like, if you look at other sports, like even say the Matildas, they got a massive pay rise at their last CBA on, in part because the Socceroos agreed to come to the table and say, we want a revenue sharing model where, merch and game day sales and, broadcasting, a share of that goes to them because we think they deserve it. And also it's a brand we want to get behind as well. Like that's a flow on impact for us as well. So I think once we can get to that point, I hope it's in the next few years. Like, I know people want us to be patient, but like, as someone who's played, cricket for Victoria when I was younger and seen how much things have changed and how much we struggled just to pay our own way to national champs, we're kind of owed a bit of an acceleration at this point, I feel, having been kept away from a national league for so long.
And the precedent set recently by the United States soccer team.
Yes.
They're now completely equal pay, women and men.
At the international level, right?
At the international level.
Not domestic.
Not MLS? Not Major League Soccer, that's their league. They don't... No, they're not there yet. Yeah.
No, the National League, no. But the national team, yes, have fought their way through the courts for it.
If there was any justice in the world, just talking about soccer, Sam Kerr would be paid the combined amount that all the Socceroos are paid.
Well, I guess that's the thing. Like, they're actually marketable as well. Like, it's not just an altruistic thing from the men. Like, that's a brand you want to get behind, Sam Kerr.
Yes.
So, on that point, I think another question that people would have is, do you think it's been a detrimental factor or contributing factor that they've gone to the 18 clubs as sort of quickly? I know it's didn't happen overnight, but they added every year pretty much until now we've got 18. And the talent, as we've ventured, is dispersed, and people buy into the individuals, especially in the AFLW at the moment, I would say. And if they're moving clubs, then how are you going to get that sort of accelerated sort of interest, I suppose, of the footy club? So do you reckon going to the 18 clubs is helped or hurt? Because the product overall has to be, the product is the players, and the players are dispersed among 18 footy clubs at the moment.
I think it's a bit double-edged. Like, I think it is really important to have a team for every club because, I don't know, and I unfortunately know people who vote for Essendon and, they've just had an excuse to not get involved, and I think they've felt that it's not really a league for them, and now they have no excuse and they have a team to get behind, but...
I talk about my mate Limo. He fully... He goes, no, I of course I love football, but I'm a Hawthorn fan, so I'm not that interested to watch Collingwood versus Freo.
Yeah, and go on.
So I was going to say, do you reckon if they got to the point where basically the women's and men's fixtures were the same, and there was sort of curtain raiser into the men's or vice versa?
Yeah.
At that point, because I think your point is very well made around like you need the cross pollination between the existing massive revenue generating men's footy, and you need the pollination. You want them to be connected.
Yeah,
and I think players, I would say historically, have found it very difficult to connect because they're never at the club at the same time.
Yeah,
they're often on holidays when some of the games are going on, or they're in the midst of pre-season when they don't have any interest in watching extra footy. So
fair.
do you reckon that model where it's like, okay, so we've got 23 rounds or 22 games, and the men's and women's is the exact same. I mean, one, whether it's feasible or not, but do you think that's something that could be really useful?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I've always felt a bit split on that because I really feel like, getting back to that conversation we were having earlier, like the vibe is so different at the games, and the community and the people who are interested in women's footy are very different from the people who are interested in men's footy sometimes, not always.
Yep.
I go both, but
I go to both.
So I think
Boydie avoids both, so you know.
Not at the community level. I actually quite like watching both at the community level.
Yeah.
I just don't like watching the AFL that much.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not like this is an AFL podcast or anything.
Hey, you are talking about it. I think like it would lose some of that appeal, like that more grassroots, like DIY, suburban ground, like it loses that, I think, if you try and... But, I think we need to do a mix. And I think that's what they're trying this season.
Shifting it back so there's some overlap.
Yes. Yeah, and having double headers in, finals time. And I think that's kind of a good time for it to kick off too, because obviously there's teams, there's a lot of people out there who are really depressed when the men's season finishes and they've got another team to get behind, and maybe bringing it closer reminds them that, hey, we've got a women's team about to play.
It's so hard, isn't it? Because to your point, it's we want the community feel.
Yeah.
Let's say that we max out and even out the fans. Well, if it's still at the community sport, we're not going to get as much gate revenue because no one's good.
That's right.
You can only fit 2,000 people or 5,000 people at Whitten Oval. But then, it's just so hard. I don't know what the answers are.
No, I don't. I think it's complex. I think there isn't an easy answer.
Yeah.
All I can say on that is it's not an easy answer. So let's focus on the positives. We're going to play a game at Punt Road Oval. And I've never been to a game at Punt Road Oval in my life. And as a footy nerd, I'm so excited to go and watch.
Yeah.
And we're playing North Melbourne. I don't even have to deal with Richmond fans. This is so good. And it's the day of the men's grand final parade. So I'm going to go watch a bit of the parade. I'll watch the Bulldogs go past, and then I'll go watch the women at Punt Road Oval.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. Still, I'm so torn about, do you want the product to stand, the AFLW product to stand by itself as something completely different, so that, to your point, you get the sort of, the men's footy fan who still wants footy in their life in the off-season?
Yeah.
Or do you go the other way and just make them the exact same scheduling and times and dates and places, and just make the clubs really, really cohesive as a, men's and women's programs?
Well, I think that cohesion has to happen regardless. I think more needs to be done to make that happen.
Yeah.
I still hear stories from, the players, AFLW players, saying that, they're not allowed in the gym from this time to this time, and because it might interrupt whatever the men are doing.
Is that COVID though, or is that just
there's definitely
rubbish?
some COVID now, but originally it was there's two separate schedules. But I mean, to be fair, that's also the same for the VFL players. They're not allowed in there at the same time.
Yeah.
Or they weren't historically because just they're the substitute team essentially. The VFL.
We're about 50 minutes in. I think now is the time, Boydie. We are.
We can do the crystal ball.
We do the crystal ball.
I could spend hours talking about this. Just
absolutely.
I find it a fascinating combination of what would be perfect in the perfect world versus the commercial element of it. I find it fascinating.
This is your business degree shining through and dreams. Whereas I just want to talk about Jess Fitzgerald getting best on ground in the grand final this
She's
year.
a gun.
Will it happen? By the way, shout out, I'm sure some of them listen, Fitzy's brigade who stand there in the forward pocket at Whitten Oval. I love you all.
There's about 40 of them.
Yes. I don't know how many are directly related to
I think they're all related, cousins.
They are brilliant humans, and I love them.
If I had a Boydie's brigade, there'd be 8 people there.
Yeah.
And
Kate, me, Tess, Mitch Wallace, your dog.
And they'd be wearing Carlton scarves.
Yeah. That's right. And they'd be heckling me. Well, maybe in this space, as we predict the future,
Yeah.
you play to the best of your ability the actual realist, and Danny can
Yeah.
play the part of just Bulldogs. You know,
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, all right, I like this.
I like this.
Yeah.
So 2020. What season are we calling this?
They're calling it 2023.
No, they're not.
Oh,
No,
they're
they're
not?
calling it 2022B,
Oh.
season 7. It's not catching on, the B.
Season 7.
I like season 7.
Season 7's all right, but name me a TV show that did well in season 7. Maybe Seinfeld?
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Friends.
Simpsons?
Yeah.
What happened in Friends season 7? I don't know.
I just presume. Just kept going.
I was going to say, I would have said Friends, not because I like it, because it just kept going for a long
I
time.
got one. West Wing. West Wing was really good. That was the
Simpsons.
election year.
The Simpsons.
Simpsons would have been strong around 7. Yeah. Okay. All right. So
It's possible. Once we get into the 20s, we're struggling. It's limited. All right. So what's going to happen in 2020B? Whatever.
Yeah, I've lost count. Look, I don't know. I think there's obviously a full, 18 teams. We've got a top 8. So, and we finished 7th last year.
That's a number for us.
yeah, we would have
Yeah.
got finals. It is a good number for us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice work.
yeah,
Nice
yeah.
work.
We've got 4 expansion teams. I don't expect them to do exceptionally well.
I'm a bit worried about Hawthorn just because Beck Goddard is she's a
genius
brilliant coach, a
and
genius,
hilarious.
and have you ever met her? She's one of them. She's a brilliant human.
Crack up. So funny.
Yeah.
I don't think I've had the pleasure.
Yeah.
We would get her on this, but she'd talk about Hawthorn. So
Yeah, we don't care about Hawthorn. Well, Woody doesn't seem to mind.
semi-final.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Anyway, look, I don't know. I think we could make finals. Look, I'm being slightly optimistic, and that's not my job. But look, we've lost Bonnie Toogood, Brooke Lachlan, Izzy Huntington, but Izzy Huntington's recovering from ACL. I think Bonnie is a big loss, but I am buoyed by the fact that we've got Kirsten McLeod coming back from concussion, ongoing concussion symptoms. And we also have Gabby Newton, and she's going to be playing up forward. So I feel like both of those are, almost like new recruits, effectively.
It's true. We do have some listener mail. Barry Webster, who is famously, for those who don't know Barry, he got a membership to every AFLW club, but he actually goes for us, and we love Barry. He's a legend of a bloke.
Yeah.
How do we cover the loss of Bonnie and Brooke?
Yeah, well, Bonnie, I think we've got Gabby, but I think Nell Morris-Dalton is the one who can really step into that role.
Murray.
Yeah, I love her. You have to get her on one day.
Okay.
Oh, really? Is she great?
Is a personality.
Absolutely.
Like strident feminist, like got her own clothing brand, skateboarder.
Great.
She's awesome. I reckon Nell, she's a real confidence player, and she's, I think, suffered from being a bit down in the pecking order, and I think now she's going to be our go-to target. I think Gabby, I think Kirsten McLeod for Brooke. Hopefully she can stay healthy because she really had a horrific time with her concussion. I did a big feature on that last year, and
It's horrible.
horrific. Yeah.
So, having seen it firsthand, it's one of the most scary parts of our great game.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a massive issue going forward. But anyway.
We also had a massive question from Tim, but I think we've answered a lot of it. It's just discussing like what you guys were talking about with the cohesion and whatnot. However, and we've just touched on this. We are playing our home games at Carlton's home ground just because of the Whitten Oval being Yeah, that's right. We're doing a couple in Ballarat.
2 in Ballarat, 2 at Icon, 1
at Punt Road. Is that our home game? Okay, sweet.
How many games is this season?
It's not many.
10.
Yeah.
10 rounds, yeah.
So we don't
That's
play
hard
Richmond.
to equalise, isn't it?
Yeah, when you got 18 teams.
Yeah.
It's
But that's because they only played a season, 20 minutes ago.
No, but that's the agreement. Like the players really pushed hard for more rounds.
I want more rounds.
Just from a football perspective, you add in like heaps of team member change, and you only play half the competition. It's like, how is anyone supposed to basically not get a loaded draw?
Exactly. You can't
impossible.
possibly equalise it. No.
So and so you reckon we'll make finals? We're definitely going to win.
Best and fairest winner.
Best and fair, yeah. Who most rising star like within the club?
Best and fairest. Can't
leading
say
goal
Ali.
kicker.
Jeez.
And
Can't say Ali because I presume the answer to most of those questions is Ali Blackburn.
Yeah, exactly. Best and fairest, Kirsty Lamb.
Nice, good answer.
She did come equal first last season.
She found
with
another
Ellie.
gear. She's brilliant.
What were the others?
Rising star, like within the
So,
club, like best
first year?
What do they call that? 40 best first year.
First year, yeah.
Or second year if it's
Oh, look, first year I really wouldn't know,
most
but
improved. Most improved. Yeah, go
most improved. Well, I thought last season Celine Moody, our ruck,
yeah,
she was
she was-
brilliant. Although
yeah.
I think she actually won most improved, so that's kind of cheating.
No, but she
Izzy-
was really amazing.
Yeah, Izzy Pritchard as well.
She's very good.
She's
Friend
a
of the
gun.
show. Actually, do you know who's really underrated? Eleanor Brown.
Oh, she's not in the club. She was runner up in best fairest last
Right,
season.
okay. Understandable. Like
Yeah.
she's maybe just because because of her bright red hair, I can always tell when she's got the ball. But
Yeah.
she's very and her ball usage is really spot on.
Yeah, brilliant. Top goal scorer.
She would be so stoked that we're now playing in winter,
Is he?
just as a redhead.
Oh, yeah, I feel her pain. Yeah. Nell for most goals.
Nell Morris Dalton.
Yeah.
Wow.
Daisy Bateman coming across from Kangas should help too. She's kicked 22 goals in
Oh, sweet.
34 games.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, have we poached anyone else?
Yeah, we've got a few.
Who are you most excited about?
Well, I
Daisy
am
Bateman?
excited.
What
Yeah,
nickname are we
Daisy.
going for that? Patrick?
Well, the other one I like the look of is Millie Brown as well, because she was at Geelong, and you might know this, but she had a season off for mental health concerns, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to play footy again, but said she really missed it. So
And surely her
and
nickname
she-
is Bobby. Millie Bobby Brown, star of Stranger Things.
So yeah, she was at Geelong, but I think she just really needed a change of scenery and is much happier reportedly. So
The
I'm
reverse
excited.
Dalhouse.
Yeah, let's not talk about
We
that.
should get you instead of on banners. We'll get you on nickname.
I will
Junior.
do nickname. That's actually one flaw in AFLW. There's a distinct lack of amazing nicknames.
Well, it's a bit like the men's, really. It's so like lacking in imagination, like
I know.
Fitzy and
Boydie and
Kirsten McLeod's Macca.
Mine was tuberculosis.
really, what? That's great.
TB. Just,
Yeah, I get
that
it.
was just,
That's nice.
That was just Murph's. Didn't catch on for some reason.
Oh mate, well,
Really?
Tuberculosis. Handball.
Yeah, fair enough.
TB.
It should be like Buccaneer, Tampa Bay, TB. They have the TBs on their thing.
Yeah, but you've got to be more than just word association. There's got to be some sort of meaning behind it. Generally
that's all I
speaking,
got.
most of the nicknames, like I would say, pop up in like pre-season camps, and when they first get to the club, someone will tell them a silly nickname to give, and then it sticks. And
Like Horse Williams.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So the takeaways, listeners, we've got to wrap it up. We've done over an hour now. The takeaways are AFLW. We're looking good. We should be challenging for top 4. Very exciting, and our future is bright. And
Quote
in the
unquote,
men's,
Kate.
Yeah, I said that exactly.
you may have forgotten, but men play this game as well. It's adorable. They try their best. Look, we're the only team to ever win it from 7th. What's the next step? Win it from 8th.
Yeah.
Correct.
If we win it from 9th, I'll be impressed.
We can do it. We can do it. Thank you, Kate, so much.
Thanks for having me.
What should we plug of yours?
My work on the ABC.
Just chuck it on ABC. What are we talking?
Don't have any entrepreneurial ventures that you have on the side?
I don't have time for that.
What with Supercoach and
Oh yeah, exactly. No, I used to do my Kick Like a Girl radio show for Triple R, but
Oh yeah, that was sweet.
it's on hiatus at the moment.
Yes.
Just don't have the time. Full-time job, eh?
Yeah, fair enough. Actually, if you want a good community radio AFLW show, I recommend Chicks Talking Footy on
Yeah,
Joy FM,
Joy. Yeah.
who,
Legends.
My friend Susanna Mott hosts. Anyway, hey, thanks for joining us, Boydie. You got a book out. You have a podcast, and you also work for some accounting firm or whatever.
I do not work for an accounting firm. I work for a technology company.
That's the one.
Yeah, I'm a man of business.
But buy his book and all of that. Do I have anything to plug? My play, Shakespeare Aliens, is coming out again in October. If you want to see me do some Shakespearean nerdy stuff, and I don't know, check out my TikTok. It's hilarious. Anyway, go Dogs.
Go Doggies.
Today's episode was proudly brought to you by 8-Star Energy, creating energy for the future and power you can count on.
Follow them on Facebook. 8-Star Energy.
I gave my childhood to that roar of the red, white and blue sea, and the knowledge that you had to love the Bulldog boys and me. 20 years on, I feel that longing hanging in September air. But the reason I go every week is to pretend you're still there. And they will find the glory one day, and I will throw it at your feet. It's a long, long road they're running for you, the dogs of Footscray streets. It's a long, long road they're running for you, the dogs of Footscray streets.